Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Cashel, and every week I try my absolute best to teach you about a true crime case that I have been researching. I hope everyone has had a fabulous week. I don't really think I have any housekeeping this week. No, other than I am starting to prep for Halloween. I'm determined to do a full week this year, because last year I think I only did 4 days because I dressed up, filmed, and my mic was muted. And I was livid, and there was no way in hell I was getting dressed back up again. It took me like 3 hours just to get ready, then filmed for an hour and a half, and it was muted, and it just broke me. Yeah, I think I've pretty much got all of my cases ready for Halloween. It's just now deciding what outfit I'm going to do with what case and what outfits I'm doing. But it's exciting. I love Halloween. I had my first pumpkin spice drink of the season today, so I was very happy about that. Yeah, I don't think I have any housekeeping for you this week. So today we're going to be looking at the case of Kathy Page. It's not a case I had ever heard of. I discovered it through seeing a video of like a movie, and I was hooked into the movie immediately. And then when I realised it was based on a true story, I had to look into it. And it's really shocking. It's also shocking that the movie doesn't really portray the true story, and when they won all the awards they didn't mention the true story or trying to help the person that it's impacted most. We'll get there, okay? Trigger warnings for today's case do include coercive and controlling behaviour and possible domestic abuse, so if either of those are things you don't want to listen to today, that's absolutely fine. I'll see you hopefully for another case. Content warning, as always, strong language. On the surface, this may have just looked like a tragic car accident, but within hours of the discovery, police started to suspect something far darker. Decades later, Kathy's father would still be turning his grief into a protest, visible for all the highway to see. This is the unsolved murder of Kathy Page and the Billboards who refused to let her story die. Kathy Page was born in 1957 in Texas to James Fulton Bill Page and his wife. She grew up in a very loving, tight-knit family, and she was described as smart, warm, and incredibly smiley, the kind that lights up a room. Friends would describe her as independent but deeply caring, the type to stand up for those who she loved. In her early 20s, Kathy met Steve Page and their romance quickly blossomed. They married very soon after meeting, which absolutely terrifies me, but apparently was quite common at some point. Like, you hear of all these stories where they got married within like a year of meeting, and no. Steve was very included in Kathy's family's events, and Bill treated him as one of the family. The couple went on to have children together, and for years they seemed just like a normal, happy, healthy, small town family. But of course, as they always do, cracks eventually start to show. Kathy began to confide in her family about Steve's increasingly controlling behaviour and the impact it was having on their relationship and their marriage. By the early 90s, the relationship had all but completely broken down. She eventually separated from Steve, but she had a really tight, lovely family network who all rallied around her, helping her adjust as well as possible, helping out with the kids and financially for her. On the morning of May 14th, 1991, a passerby spotted Kathy's car partially submerged in a ditch, like nose first. Kathy was found inside the car. She was found seat belted in, and she was sat upright. She was not slumped over. And I think most tellingly, her drink that was in the car hadn't spilled over either. So doesn't really look like a car crash kind of situation. So police went to the scene, and immediately they knew something looked strange. Obviously they go to scenes like this all the time. It didn't look right. It looked staged. So there was not a real significant crash damage to the vehicle itself. Her seatbelt wasn't the way it would be if she had been in a car crash. Obviously the drink hadn't spilled, and she was still sat upright. An autopsy that would later be conducted on Kathy's body confirmed that she had died due to strangulation, not from any form of car crash injuries. So officers went straight to Steve Page's home and said, "Do you know where Kathy is?" And allegedly his eyes kind of like darted in the where the car was. So he said no, but his eyes kind of told a very different story. He was like, yeah, she's over there. But he didn't say, yeah, she's over there. This, of course, was before police had told him anything about Kathy or where. They knew where she was, okay? I'm explaining this terribly. He appeared to be incredibly calm, composed, just nonchalant about the whole situation. Not really how you'd expect an ex-husband of a missing woman to be reacting. Steve was of course taken to the station for questioning, but the problem they were having was that no evidence linked him to anything. Everything that could have been collected was collected from the crime scene, like fibres, clothes, hair, and none of this tied Steve to the car. Investigators were quickly made aware of ongoing and escalating tensions between Kathy and Steve during their divorce, and these had started getting worse in the weeks leading up to her death. Kathy had just started dating someone new, which investigators believe that Steve very much resented. Like I say, they were in the midst of negotiating divorce terms such as like custody and financial agreements, and they obviously weren't seeing eye to eye on pretty much anything. So the theory is it points to Steve. Let's be real. The first person you always look at is the husband. So he has opportunity. He lived very close to Kathy and to where Kathy was last seen, and he had no solid alibi for what he had been doing the hours before Kathy was found. He of course had the motive. He was arguing with her over divorce. He wouldn't have to obviously pay out or pay anything. Custody would be sorted, and he was bitter that she was dating someone else. So he absolutely has a motive as well. Of course, his behaviour is always going to be looked into. The fact that he's so calm, I know it's not fair to kind of judge someone how they react to certain things, because not everyone is going to react how you would expect them to react, and sometimes they are innocent, and we do kind of need to let go of that a little bit, but of course I'm going to mention it anyway. And we have him looking in the direction of where Kathy's car was found before he was even told anything, so that to me is suspicious. He was also caught vandalising Kathy's grave once she had of course been buried, which I actually spoke about not last week, the week before, in the scuba diving murder. I just think it's really common, and it's absolutely horrifying that you can dislike someone or dislike your own partner that much that even in death they are bothering you, that you have to go and vandalise something that they can't fix. What's that all about? It just shows unresolved hostility and reinforces a theory of deep animosity towards this person, which is just crazy in my opinion. But despite all this, there is no physical evidence that really puts him at the scene. You can't really tie him 100%. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't part of the investigation team. I don't know how hard they looked, and I feel like you would have been able to find something. And even if you couldn't, could you not still at least try to charge him with it? I don't think that's how law works, but you could have a go. So without DNA or eyewitnesses, obviously prosecution do think the case would fail, but like I say, give it a go. Other suspects were brought in for this case, but Steve always remained the main focus because he had the most reason to want Kathy dead. So Steve was actually caught whilst he was vandalising Katie's grave, but he wasn't charged for this. Is that not... surely that's a crime. That's got to be a crime, right? But he wasn't charged anything for that, which again, was his like dad in the police force or something? Did he have someone on the inside that was just kind of letting him skate by? So of course everything kind of came to a massive halt. Nothing was being done. They couldn't charge anyone. And Steve seemed to have kind of got away with it. And Kathy's family was heartbroken. They were not only heartbroken, but they were so frustrated by this. And Bill Page decided he was not going to let this case fade. He was not going to let people forget about it. He was not going to let people forget about his daughter and what happened to her and how he felt the justice system had failed her. And this is the kind of petty shit I live for. I love this man. I think this is fucking iconic behaviour, okay? So in 1992, he erected a ginormous billboard along Highway 105. This billboard simply read, Steve Page brutally murdered his wife in 1991. Don't know how you say this, but Vidor police butchered the case. And what I like about these billboards is that they are far from subtle. They are straight to the point, and they are brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And of course they were visible to thousands of people driving past them every single day. Over the years, he bought a few more, because why bloody not? Just keep getting the message out there. And there was actually, I think he had a reward set up. I don't know if it was independently or through the police. So that was advertised on there, hoping someone would come forward with crucial information to get this case going. The reaction from the locals in the town where these billboards were very mixed emotions. Like I say, I'm Team Bill. I'm all for it. I think that's brilliant. Many of the locals quietly agreed with Bill, but others thought it was far too public and too accusatory. But the billboards were permanent and became a fixture within the town's landscape. And some of them have stood in various different forms for 30 years now. So in 1992, Bill filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Steve. And civil court is good because it doesn't require proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So a jury heard the case, heard everything that happened, were given the evidence, and they agreed. And they found Steve Page liable for Katie Page's death. And the family was awarded $150,000 in damages. Now, what I do not understand about civil court is, and I'm hoping someone can explain it to me, you can get awarded these sums of money, but they don't have to pay it? What's the fucking point? Because I didn't realise, I'd seen all these things and I just assumed you had to, it was a legal requirement to pay it, and it's not, because OJ never paid his, and I figured it out when I was watching the OJ documentary. And just like the OJ documentary, they never received a cent off Steve, which in most cases they don't really mind. It's not about the money, it's about receiving some form of justice, which I totally understand. You want at least one form of court to say, yes, you're right, this was wrong, he did it, even if you don't have enough evidence to go to a criminal court case. But I just think that's so bad. Like, surely, why would you not have to pay it? I don't get that. Despite the civil verdict, no criminal cases were still ever charged. Prosecution was still saying there was insufficient evidence. And to this day, Steve Page has never been charged with Kathy Page's murder. Law enforcement's unofficial, because they can't be chatting too much shit, position on this, although they haven't really said it outright, is that Kathy had likely been attacked by Steve during a argument of something to do with the divorce, possibly at his home, and then he staged it to look like she had staged it poorly to make it look like she had passed away in a car accident. But it was 1991. We don't have the forensic technology that we do have now, and maybe if we did, it would have been totally different and Steve would still be in jail, but we didn't, and there's probably not, that evidence probably wasn't saved. So, like I said at the beginning, years and years later, this case was noticed by a director, by Martin McSomething, because I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. So he decided to make a adaptation of the film called 3 Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. And it went on to win quite a lot of awards. At the Golden Globes, it won Best Motion Picture, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Screenplay. At the BAFTAs, it won Best British Film, Best Leading Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Original Screenplay. At the Academy Awards, it won Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, and received 7 other nominations. So although the story was partially fictionalised, it is based on Kathy and her dad's story. And I don't know, maybe this is me just expecting too much, but I would have thought someone might have mentioned the real family. No. Especially because Kathy's dad still oh my god, is it Kathy? Oh my god, I think I've called her Katie like 5 times. Shit. Especially as Kathy's dad would have paid for these billboards. Like, could they not have donated something to the family, helped them out a little bit? Just something would have been nice. Maybe I'm too nice and I would just expect that to happen. As I said, the billboards still remain to today, and I love them. I think they're brilliant. I think they're a challenge to the local authorities and a reminder to people that just because something happened 30 years ago, their wounds of that family won't have healed because no justice was given to them. And I really hope they do go on to encourage someone to eventually speak up about what happened, because someone other than Steve must know the truth. But that is the end of today's case. And it's the first, I mean, I guess it's unsolved. It's punished, but I don't believe it's unsolved. I think we know exactly who did it. If anyone knows any more about that case and has any other theories that they'd like to share, I'd absolutely love to hear them, because obviously I just went in that it's Steve. I didn't even look at any other possibility that it's not. And obviously her dad believes it's Steve too. But I think it's really interesting. I'm not going to recommend you watch the film because it's not really anything to do with the actual case. So I'm not going to recommend the movie. I feel a bit bitter towards the movie, actually. It did irritate me a little bit. But yeah, that's it from me today. I will be back next week. I think I am going to do the corn rake murder next week, but don't quote me on that because I might change my mind in just a moment. Positive thought of the day is... Oh, positive thought of the day. Well, I have two actually, because I bought some books earlier and I'm very happy about it. So I got The Criminal Mind, From Broadmoor to the Old Bailey, True Stories from a Forensic Psychiatrist case book. How fun does that sound? And I have read... I told you ages ago I was reading A Mother's Reckoning because I went down a Columbine rabbit hole, and I got the Columbine book. Oh my god, that felt really thick then. It's not that thick. I got the Columbine book, which it was the last one, and I couldn't get it. Well, I could get it on my Kindle, but I'd have to pay the same amount of money to get it on my Kindle as I would to buy the physical copy. So I bought the physical copy. So that is what I'm going to be doing for the next 2 weeks, is reading these. So I'll let you know how I get on. Oh, goodness, I need to get changed. I'm really hot. I need to shut my window. I need to stop rabbiting on. Okay, so make good choices. Be petty. Be as petty as you feel like, because that sometimes petty is iconic and we love it. I am all here for Bill. I do believe, I'm pretty sure, I'm going to say it, and then if I'm wrong, I'll cut it out. I do believe he does accept kind of financial donations to help keep the billboard still standing. So if he does, and I can find any pages or links or anything like that, I will link it down below. If I'm chatting shit, you won't even see this part. But until next week, make good choices. Make good choices. I'll see you next week. Love you, bye. Touched it, I fucked it up now. I just feel like there's stuff on me. Unsolved murder. Bolton, wait. He began to... partially... Fuck. He would later be... Fucking hell. Appeared ex... Many of the locals cases were still criminal cases. Civil... come on. Especially because Cassie... Still pet... Oh my god, is it Kathy? Oh my god, I think I've called her Katie 5 times. Shit.